Here in East Texas, stories matter. On the Right Team podcast, we bring you the best of it all. Local sports, rich history, and national takes with a hometown perspective, along with faith and inspiration to keep you moving forward. From the classroom to the field, we're about learning, growing, and celebrating the communities we call home. There's something here for everyone. Listen to the Right Team podcast wherever you get your favorite podcasts. The Right Team podcast. East Texas stories told right.
This episode of the Right Team podcast is also brought to you by Stiles Electric. For over 25 years, Stiles Electric has been providing reliable, professional electrical installation and repair service all throughout East Texas and beyond. We specialize in industrial and commercial projects of all sizes. We are proud to be a part of our communities and schools here in East Texas. Contact us today at 903-236-2536. That's Stiles Electric, reliable, professional, and experienced.
Back to From the Press Box on the Right Team podcast. We're coming to you from deep in the piney woods of East Texas. As always, I am David Weaver, the host of the podcast. And as always, I am joined by my good friend, my co-host, my sports director, the sports director of KMHT in Marshall, as well as the pastor of Friendship Baptist Church, none other than Brother Matt Paul, who, as I understand, it's got a lot of worlds colliding this week and a lot of stuff going on coming off of a weekend. I know as of talking to you yesterday was not the greatest of weekends for you, was it?
Yeah. Just kind of sports world is what it is, but also, you talk about worlds colliding, we had a couple folks from our church that passed away this weekend. So obviously praying for their families, but, one of those times a year where there's just a lot of emotions. We've got a kid graduating in 11 days. And then of course you're thinking of these families and your church family as a whole. And then it's like you said, worlds kind of colliding, but that is life. And there's always opportunities for some really good stuff, even in the toughest times.
Well, it wasn't all bad for some of our local teams, although we did kind of take a beating in terms of who's now left standing in the baseball and softball playoffs. I know you were intimately involved in following the Harleton baseball. Man, what a rally from that game one performance to the way they showed up on Saturday, right?
I'll tell you, Brandon Smith and I were covering that game Thursday night, and I don't know that Harleton and Coach Beck was on with me this morning on the show at KMHT. He even said it. I don't know that they could have played any worse. They committed either 6 or 7 errors. Of course, Canna Mildred, their pitcher, looked very good. They hit the ball well, but still, it was just a rough game for Harleton. And then they turn around Saturday and win 2 games, huge, and combined 33-5. And I texted Brandon Smith, my buddy who covered the game with me on Thursday, and I was like, I don't think they're going to invite us back to any games because the one game we did, they lost 12-1. Obviously, I think the errors played some role in that, but great turnaround. Talked to Coach Beck this morning. He said they met for the athletic period Friday, and they talked about situations. They just talked a little bit, and he gave them the afternoon and the evening off. They did not practice Friday. He said, I think they just needed to step away from a little bit from baseball. I could tell, he said, driving home, it was a silent hour-and-a-half bus ride home, and he knew when they got off that bus that their heads were where they needed to be, and apparently they were because they took care of business Saturday.
Yeah, that's the sign of a really good team, a really well-coached team, and just kind of knowing the pulse of your team and where they are. And, good programs are not satisfied with mediocrity, and based on everything that came out from that game on Thursday, they were not satisfied with that performance. That was not who they were, and they responded in kind. So congratulations to the Harleton Wildcats. They move on. They're joined, of course, and they're from that district by Beckville advancing on, as well as Overton from that district. The only team from that district that did not advance to area, unfortunately, was the Elysian Field Yellow Jackets, who ran into a really, really good Frankston team. And and were defeated in by district, but a pretty good showing by 19-2A, moving on to the area round.
Yeah, for sure.
Other around here locally, talk about Hallsville for just a second. The Bobcats, of course, got a win in game one of their bi-district series against Prosper Walnut Grove. A lot of groves to talk about around here, but just think of Little House on the Prairie every time I say that. When I say Walnut Grove, just my mind floats. But then credit to Walnut Grove, they come back and win a tight one in game two, and then win a tight one in game three. I mean, what a series that was. I mean, they edge out the Bobcats 4-3 in game three on Saturday to knock Hallsville out of the postseason early. Man, and then you do a little bit deeper dive. It was not a good baseball playoff showing for the representatives of 10-5A.
Yeah, and I feel like we've talked about this plenty, but we saw it in basketball as well. You know, you're just running smack dab into those DFW schools, and it's that same district that we've talked about. Yes, not a good showing. Shocking? No, I would not say that at all, because I know the nature of the talent of the teams they're playing.
Yeah, and you know and as you said, we have talked about this ad nauseum all year long. We're not going to harp on it today, but only two of those series, well, 50% of them, I guess, went to 3 games. The other 2 were sweeps by the other team. It's a little bit rare in baseball to see us get swept in our district. Usually we can send a couple of teams forward into the area round. This is just one of those years where, again, Hallsville and Mount Pleasant forced a game 3, or actually went to a game 3, and just weren't able to get that big win in that 1-game playoff technically. So baseball is done from 10-5A for this season. Fortunately for around here, of course, where I live, Hallsville softball had no problem in their area round matchup against Frisco Lone Star. A couple of double-digit wins. Lady Cats putting some runs on the board. They move on to the regional semifinals this week against Belton. Again, Hallsville looking to get back to that state tournament and looking pretty good in doing so. They're one of 4 teams left vying for that spot from this region.
Yeah, they're off and running again, building off of last year. Looking at getting Coach Watley on my show this week to kind of discuss that. But yeah, heck of a performance. A lot of times it's tough to have that encore performance, you know, where you kind of keep rolling after the great season like what we talked about last year, but they seem well on their way to doing that right now.
Just some other results from around the weekend. A big baseball matchup going on in 4A this week, Matt, locally, with Pleasant Grove and Kilgore squaring off in the area there. And that will be interesting. We talked about how Pleasant Grove is having a tremendous year. Had no problem in their bi-district round, and again, ranked number 2 in the state. They are taking on the Kilgore Bulldogs, who have a pretty good baseball program themselves over there. That'll be an interesting series here locally. Carthage also has advanced, as well as the defending state champions Spring Hill. They are moving on in the 4A ranks. In the 3A ranks, Liberty Ilo will be taking on Tatum. Again, that's a local matchup of note, along with Gladewater and New Diana. Those 2 squads will be squaring off here locally as well. Over in the softball ranks, the Lady Lobos of Longview were defeated in their area round matchup in 6A. In 4A, still alive are Lindale in D1 and Van in D2. Going down to the 3A ranks, Mineola has advanced in the D1 bracket. They're in softball, rounded out by Beckville from 19-2A. They are still alive in the D2 ranks. And Beckville baseball, of course, will be joining them. So good stuff going on down there in Beckville for their spring sports.
Yeah, not surprising. That's kind of the norm for them.
Let's move on now to the NBA, and I'm gonna massage this as much as I can for you, because you know you and I text back and forth, and you kind of scared me on Sunday. I thought you were in a really dark place with your text about you don't really want to feel like talking about much of anything on the podcast, which is not good for a show like ours.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to refer to this as the Voldemort series, that which will not be named or discussed.
That's good.
I'm going to leave it up
good.
to you what you want to bring into that. But let's start off with what's next for the Houston Rockets.
Yeah. I mean, the Rockets, I think, and I'll let you know, and I'll explain why later, in a much better place. So we can talk about whatever. That's fine. But the Rockets, a lot of it is getting healthy, and I don't even think it has to do with KD. Fred VanVleet was kind of the engine to that whole team, and they didn't have him all year. I feel like, KD is just an enigma. I don't know why. I know that he wants to keep playing. I don't know why people are still pursuing him and paying him what they're paying him. He's still very good, but he's completely unreliable as far as his availability. And so I think they've got to figure out a way to navigate that. And I don't know. I'm not even going to pretend to know the answer to that, because you're paying that guy a ton of money to essentially no-show the playoffs. I do think their ceiling was maybe winning one round, and that was it, because of who awaits in the next round. But, I want to know what the Rockets would have been like with a healthy Fred VanVleet this year. I think that would have made a ton of difference. I do think with Ime Udoka, their coach, they've got a good one. Thought he was an excellent coach at the Celtics till he, did the thing where the coaches do something inappropriate or whatever, and inappropriate relationship or what have you. But anyway, I think it's a disappointment for the Rockets, but you put your eggs in a KD basket, that you got what you got. And that is what it is. But I do think there's a lot to build on there. I think when they get VanVleet back, I do think they're going to be a pretty tough out. I think they got a great coach. But as far as moves they need to make, I don't know, because they may be kind of bound up with the whole KD thing and what they're actually able to do. I don't know.
For really selfish reasons, am hesitant to throw KD under the bus with him being a former Longhorn. Hard for me to do that for my guys.
Yeah.
But I do have to agree with you. And hey, man, I mean, he's what, 37?
Yeah.
It is what it is. He's not a young spring chicken anymore. And it's kind of the thing. It's not as bad with the AD thing, because AD's what, 32, 31, 32.
Right.
I mean, he's not in his mid to upper 30s, which, that always blows my mind. And we sit here and we talk about these guys getting old and not being able to play basketball, and they're 20 years younger than I am. I mean,
right.
That's not old. Those guys are not old, even though in our minds they look ancient. So 37 years old is not that old. But in basketball years it is. And so it's not really surprising to me that his body is breaking down. Same with LeBron, and I think that's probably, and again, I'm not the leader of the LeBron James fan club, but you have to respect the longevity with which he has played. And, it does not appear to be affecting his play physically for the most part. But then you have KD and some of these other ones that just seem to break down. And I don't know what you do if you're Houston right now. Or that for whatever reason, this just didn't seem to click for them. And so I would not be shocked to see them try to move him this summer. And somebody will take him. I mean, somebody will take him. And, I think they almost have to do that to kind of give them some flexibility moving forward.
And the hard thing for that, you're right, KD's 37, and in NBA years, that's very old, especially if you're not a 6'11", 7-foot big man who just comes in and gives you 8 to 10 minutes and doesn't really move a lot. Those guys can last forever. But it's really hard for KD to be dealing with what he's dealing with, and then you look across the way and there's a guy that's 4 years older than you still dominating a series, or at least games within a series. So it's, it's hard. It probably makes KD look worse than it is, but when you're going against a freak of nature who can still do that at 41, it's kind of a different story.
Well, let's just be honest here. Even in their heyday, it's debatable whether KD was really a bona fide number one who could lead you to a world championship. I think that's been proven.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, he has not led a team of his own to a championship. And he will forever have that tag on him of jumping ship and going to Golden State in the middle of their heyday and getting his rings. And good for him. You know, who wouldn't want to play on a team like that? But it has seriously hurt his career, in my opinion, in that people now see him in that light as just a team jumper, a ring chaser. I saw a meme this week that said KD is waiting to see who the winner of the NBA Finals is to determine where he wants to demand a trade.
Yeah.
But he's kind of earned that, that image. And I love the guy. And again, he's an old Longhorn, and I'll always be loyal to my guys. But this was a disappointing year and playoff run for him.
Well, and it's not even a run.
Playoff run. He didn't play. So
yeah, for sure.
Well, if you're okay with talking about it, I do want to kind of get your thoughts, unbiased, about, again, the Voldemort series. I mean, we can skip over it if you want. We won't mention it. And I've already mentioned it twice, so we can't mention it.
I think, well, look, the East got wild. I mean, you had the Pistons, who came back from 3-1 down, to the Magic facing an awful upset first round, and they come back and do it. Then you had the Celtics, who blew a 3-1 lead to the Sixers. And I do, as much as this pains me to say it, because, the Celtics' hated rivals are the Sixers and the Knicks. I can stomach the Sixers a little bit more than I can stomach the Knicks. But I got to give the Sixers credit. And look, the Sixers had the two best players in that series. If Jason Tatum's at full health, maybe I don't say that, but Embiid and Maxey were the two best players in that series. But you blow a 3-1 lead, it goes back to the coach, and I'm really not happy with Mazzulla and the job he did. I knew Tatum was out for Game 7. Well, you've dealt with that all year. I felt like when he threw a starting lineup out there that included Ron Harper Jr., Luka Garza, and Baylor Shireman, and if you're sitting there saying, I don't know most of these guys, now you're understanding what my frustration is. I feel like you kind of made your decision where this game was going to go. I don't know what the point of that was. In my mind, okay, we're going to be in a deep hole when this game starts, and we were down 13 at the end of the first quarter. Actually came back, take the lead in the second quarter, then fell behind by 18 in the third quarter, and then had the ball down by 1 in the fourth quarter late. So made our runs, but Joe Mazzulla's got to answer for a lot of this. He did not handle. I think he kind of coached this series like he was trying to figure some things out for future series, and he didn't close out this series when he should have. I also think Boston's offense is just not sustainable. David, in their 4 losses, they chucked up 179 threes. That's almost 45 a game. They made 49 of them. That's 49 out of 179. You're making 12 threes a game. That's great, but when you're shooting 45 of them, it's not. And so you look at the other contenders, they have options when the shots aren't falling to get to the foul line, to get to the bucket, to make mid-range. And Boston never really developed that. It was just like, well, if the threes aren't falling, I guess we're in trouble. And they were. And so Mazzulla's got he won a title, and that was great. That was awesome. Bear in mind, on that title run, I looked it up. There were, I think, 9 teams that won at least 49 games in the NBA that year. And on that title run, he had to play one of them. And that was the 50-win Mavericks in the finals. He never had to play the Knicks. He never had to play the Bucks with Giannis the year they won the title. That was the year you had Anthony Edwards and Nikola Jokic. You had the Thunder, SGA. He didn't have to play any of those, who were the three best teams in the West, because Luka beat them all. And so then you get to last year, you get eliminated by your rival, the Knicks, early. In the second round, you get to this year, you get eliminated by your other rival, the Sixers, blowing a 3-1 lead in the first round. That dude probably his seat ought to be a little warm next year, because Boston's got to answer. They were the favorites in the East, and they should have been. I don't want to take anything with Philly. Did great. Maxey and Embiid were amazing. The kid from Baylor, Edgecombe, was amazing. Philly played really well. But Missoula's got to answer some stuff, because he failed. He failed his – and Boston is not a city that handles that well. And as passionate as they are, Red Sox and Patriots, they're passionate about all of it. I feel like Celtics are maybe just a little notch above all of it, and they're not gonna stomach that. Next year, you may have to get back to the finals, or you may be deciding right now, are we about to blow this thing up and try to get rid of one of the Jays and maybe go after Giannis and something like that? So it's a tough decision time for Boston, but I think it boils down to their coach. It boils down to Philly playing well and their coach not handling it well at all.
Well, you did mention Detroit and Cleveland actually survived their series and are advancing, and I think that's probably the appropriate word, survive.
Yeah.
But it doesn't lend a whole lot of juice to the East as of right now, really, in my opinion, being a serious contender to the folks coming out of the West, which to me right now, I mean, I feel really safe in saying that Oklahoma City and San Antonio in particular appear to be head and shoulders above everyone else in this whole tournament field on both sides.
I completely agree. I do think the Knicks Sixers winner comes out of the East. And look, the Knicks are scrappy, and they've got a dude, and they've got some defense, and they've got the finals in Madison Square Garden, and please hear me, I don't want it to be. I don't like the Knicks. I do not like the Knicks. But the finals in Madison Square Garden is something the NBA would love. That would be riveting. And the Knicks are good enough that they're not going to let even the Thunder or the Spurs, they won't come in and just sweep them out of their own building. The Knicks would be competitive. I think the Sixers could be competitive in the finals as well, but that hinges on Embiid's health, which that is about like saying it hinges on AD's health or KD's health or what have you. But yeah, Thunder and Spurs right now, if you want to say if they meet in the Western Conference Finals and that's essentially the de facto finals, I have a hard time arguing with that.
This morning about something I don't think you and I have discussed. It popped up over the weekend in headlines, and this is, no pun intended, this is just bananas to me, how this thing has gone with the Savannah Bananas.
Yeah.
They made a visit to Texas, specifically College Station area. My friend is a superintendent of Navasota ISD, which is right outside College Station. I don't know how he did this. I haven't been able to talk to him. Kudos to my buddy, Dr. Stu Music down there. He was able to somehow get the Bananas to actually come to Navasota and do a little something there at their high school field, which is a tremendous facility for a high school park. I thought the Bananas didn't do that kind of stuff anymore. Apparently they do. But then I see that they were in College Station on Saturday night playing in front of 102,000 people in Kyle Field.
Yeah.
And a little bit of personal history with this for me, it was kind of those trivia things. My son, Kobe Weaver, was a freshman at DBU in 2016. He, of course, went to go play summer ball in a college league. And his first college league, summer league team was none other than the Savannah Bananas. They were a college, just a summer league team.
Yeah.
And I want to believe it was their first year. And that they took over a franchise or something like that in the Savannah area. Anyway, the guy that you see in the yellow suit and everything, the owner of the Bananas, that was his first year. And we went that summer to watch a game, spent a weekend there. And you could kind of see, I mean, it was still a legit baseball game, the way I call it. I mean, it was a college league, summer league. But you could see little snippets of, and my son will tell the story of these little snippets of things that even then were being added, like the players coming out of the dugout in between innings and dancing in front of the dugout, and there's just some other little unique things that went into this whole presentation. And of course, me and my old school traditionalist baseball sense, I mean, I don't like pitch clocks. I don't like the ghost runners and, all of that stuff that's been changed in the game itself. But so this was really making me just kind of roll my eyes, and to see where it has come now, and I know I'm risking losing whatever listeners we have that listen to our show regularly, perhaps, but I don't get it. I don't get the fascination with this. Now, I haven't gone and watched a Banana show since. It is a show. It's not a game. It's a show. I haven't gone to see that since. Something's going on for them to get 100,000 people in Kyle Field when it's not a football game. I don't know how much you follow it. I don't know what you've seen from it, what your opinion even is, but I'm just going to say I don't get it. I mean, they even lost the game Saturday night. They got beat 4-3 by the Texas Tailgaters, who I have to assume the Tailgaters are the representatives of what we used to see with the Globetrotters, right? It was the Washington Generals.
Yeah.
Who never, they won like 1 or 2 games in that entire decades-long run against the Globetrotters. But apparently the Tailgaters are competitive enough against Banana Ball that they got to win on that Saturday night in College Station.
So I don't follow it, like I don't watch it religiously, but I'm kind of the opposite of you, and so maybe I'll get the viewers back. I love it. I think it's fantastic. For one, it is a lot like the Globetrotters. The only difference is the Globetrotters games. I mean, I've been to a Globetrotters game. Like, you just always knew the Globetrotters game was the Globetrotters are going to win. It was not a. It was fun, but there was no serious competition involved there. There is serious competition in this one. Both teams are playing to win the game. Yeah, there's fun. There's little added things. Like, I think, I envision it when I was 7, 8, 9 years old, I loved going to Arkansas Traveler games in Little Rock, the minor league affiliate of the St. Louis Cardinals. Loved going to those games. They were fun because, like I told you, I was the kid that woke up in the morning to my mom giving me the sports page. And that was me. I mean, I knew stats. I knew players' names. I knew where they played. I knew where they were from. That's not normal. That's not normal. So I loved a baseball game at that age. Your average kid does not, because it's boring. It does not have action. It does not have movement for a kid who's typically going to be a little ADD and need that. And so, like, I don't know if you know this, you hit a foul ball and the fan catches it in the air, you're out at a Savannah Bananas game. You have little rules about walks that, like, the runner that when he walks, he can keep running until every defender touches the ball. Like, they have to throw it around to everybody. There's little things, the fun things, the trick catches they do in the outfield, doing a backflip when you catch a foul ball and all that, or a fly ball. Like, it's meant to be fun. It is very Globetrotter-ish, and yet at the same time, like, both teams are playing hard within those parameters to try to win the games. Obviously, if you're getting 102,000 or however many people it was, like, I looked at the video outside of Kyle Field before the game started, like the pep rally thing. it was wild. It was just crazy. And so,
well, I'm looking at the picture right now. I mean, it's just wall to wall people outside Cal Field. I mean, there are shoulder to shoulder thousands and thousands of people, and they bring in Dude Perfect was there.
Yeah.
And, just a few days ago, they were in the Yankee Stadium. They had Russell Wilson taking an at-bat.
Yeah.
I mean, they bring in all of these celebrities. Again, I'm not necessarily putting it down, hey, he's obviously plugged into something that's making a lot of money for someone. It's just kind of, for me, I don't know, I kind of feel like I was in on the ground floor of it as just seeing it that first summer. And to see where it was then and to where it is now, it's almost a little bit too much to comprehend what it's become. But I don't know. I'm not into the banana ball yet. Well, maybe I need to go watch this in person and see, and it'll pull me in. I'm just so much at my age, you know how it gets when you get older. It's really hard for you to change a lot of things, and I'm fall into that category. I'm such a baseball purist. I'm still trying to come to grips with all the rules changes that are happening in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
I'm afraid this might push me over the edge if I were to see this up close. And
it's tough when you become a purist of something and an expert in something and when you're so accustomed to certain things. Like, it's funny, we did this on KMHT. We did this top sports moment of 2025. We did a whole poll thing in the month of March and voting on it. And we had a matchup of Marshall's Savion Williams getting drafted against Marshall's Danica Cantu, the volleyball player who reached the 1,000 digs plateau. Now, in the grand scheme of things, which is a more impressive accomplishment? I mean, come on. It's obvious what the most impressive accomplishment is. But this was meant to get fans engaged and get and we actually had a comment on there from someone who said, I don't really understand what the point of this is. We've got a grown man who just achieved his dream of playing in the NFL, and we have a high school student who, obviously, that's a tremendous accomplishment, but I just don't understand the point of why we're trying to compare this. And one of the people hopped on and said, well, I think the point is to be fun. And that's what we lose sometimes, is like we get into things, into the weeds with things so much that we forget that certain things can be fun and they're not exactly what we're used to, but it's okay because it's fun. And I think that's what banana ball is to a lot of people. It's just fun. And some people, it's not their cup of tea. I totally get that it's not their cup of tea, but I'm in favor. I'm probably not going to go pay to see them play, but I've watched them on TV before. And as far as I'm concerned, let the people have their fun. If they find it fun and we're not hurting anybody, then go for it.
Look, who am I? They're drawing 100,000 people and got a contract now with ESPN of all places to do what they do. Who am I to say, and judge that? It's just kind of hard. I'm going through one of those transitional phases, I guess, in life where it's really hard for me to connect with that.
Yeah, I get that. I get that.
So maybe pray for me that I'm able to see through some things in my old age, because right now I'm not seeing it with banana ball.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's move on to real baseball and talk a little bit about some SEC baseball here going on. Again, this was one of those subjects that, for a brief moment yesterday when we were texting back and forth about the show, you were adamant you didn't want to talk about this either. And I'm like, okay, he really is serious. We're not going to have anything to talk about tomorrow. But I think everything went the way you wanted it to, literally within seconds. And so we're good here. The question of today, when we're talking about college baseball, and in particular SEC baseball, and I wanted to get your thoughts on this. How many SEC teams are we going to see in Omaha? Because it's looking like we're going to see quite a bit. This is a really good baseball league.
It is, and they're devouring each other. That's the thing. Georgia is kind of eked out ahead of everybody else, but I think I noticed that there's 3 teams tied for 6th, so that's 6th, 7th, and 8th. And there's 2 teams tied for 2nd. That's the Longhorns and the Aggies. And 2.5 games separate 2nd through 8th place. So they're just devouring each other right now. I don't know. I feel like so many teams, probably Georgia and Texas right now are maybe the ones that stand out a little bit differently to me. But so many teams, you're like, I don't know what you're going to look like from week to week. Part of that has to do with who you're always going up against, tough competition. But I'll give you a perfect example. There's a 3-way tie for 6th right now. 3 teams at 13 and 11. Arkansas, Alabama, and Florida. Florida swept Arkansas. Arkansas swept Alabama. Alabama swept Florida. Like look, you have a hard fought series where you win 2 out of 3 or lose 2 out of 3 or something. That's one thing. You sweep a team, you were the better team that weekend. Clearly, you won 3 straight games. So you really don't know what you're going to get week to week, except for some of these teams. Like I said, I feel like Georgia, Texas, maybe A&M, maybe Mississippi State, maybe Auburn. So I don't know. I could see the SEC populating half or more of the field in Omaha. I could see some of these teams having a bad weekend, and then you've only got a couple of them in Omaha. So it's just going to depend on how healthy a state of mind are you in when you get into the postseason, because this SEC season is a grind, and who can emerge in the healthiest place, I think, maybe what we're looking at.
You mentioned Georgia. They are on a 5-game win streak in the SEC, which this year in particular is a major accomplishment. They're just coming off of a sweep at home against Missouri. And I don't know if you know their coach. You probably do. He's an Arkansas guy.
He was at Arkansas. Yep.
We got to work with him for all of about a month at DBU in my son's freshman year before he left and went to Mississippi State that September. And fascinating individual. In the short amount of time we got to meet him and know him, really was hoping to get to see my son develop under him, because that's all he does is develop pitchers.
Yeah.
But he's got the Bulldogs rolling in baseball. It's kind of weird. You see the national rankings as of today. They're actually a spot behind Texas in the rankings. Texas is holding steady at 4. That was an impressive win for the Horns at home, taking 2 of 3 against Mississippi State, which is again one of those teams that could very well end up being in Omaha. I mean, they're a really good baseball team. And I was watching this weekend, the way it has played out. It's almost like, and this sounds weird because you're always about just go win a series. It's about winning series. It's about winning 2 out of 3, and at home, you got to win those series. And on the road, you do the best you can and split, right? I think on the road in the SEC, if you can get a win in a 3-game series, you've made your weekend. If you can just steal one at the other place, which, over time, if you follow that formula by winning 2 out of 3 at home and winning 1 on the road, what does that get you? That gets you a 500 record, which I mean, it's going to be very difficult for I could see a couple of SEC teams that maybe have a 500 conference mark. They're going to be hosting regionals.
I think you got to be above 500 to host. I really do. And I don't know why this isn't really opening up here. I've had some weird browser issues on my phone today.
There's all kinds of stuff going with the internet today.
Yeah, but I was looking at the RPI earlier, and Arkansas, for example, 13 and 11 in the SEC. I looked at their RPI. They're number 30 coming into today. That's not good enough to host. You're not hosting with an RPI of 30. Your RPI has got to be probably 20 or above, which means Arkansas's got to probably win their last 2 series to even be in that conversation. So I don't think – I think hosts right now, I feel like the Longhorns, Aggies, Georgia Bulldogs, and Auburn Tigers look very good to host. They're almost a sure thing. Mississippi State is very much in that mix. And then Bama, Florida are probably your next two, with Arkansas and Ole Miss kind of holding out hope maybe. But
yeah,
you know, we'll see. The RPI is kind of always in flux. I love keeping up with that this time of year. This is one of my favorite times of year to kind of see how the regionals fall, where everybody's playing. I'll never forget, we'd only been here a couple of years, and Arkansas was playing in the Rice Regional. You remember Rice used to be an elite baseball program. And me and the boys loaded up on a Friday, and we drove down to Houston, and we watched Arkansas and Sam Houston State play in game one of the Rice Regional, and it was a lot of fun. So I love this time of year.
Yeah, and speaking before we leave college baseball, are you seeing what's happening in the Big 12 with Kansas, of all places?
Yeah.
The
Kansas is going to host.
Are 20-4 in the Big 12, 37-11 overall, ranked 8th in the country as of today. And I mentioned them because number one of my best friends at church is a KU through and through, Rock Chalk Jayhawk, baby. Every Sunday, you know, it's we get to praise the Lord and we get a Rock Chalk usually.
Yes.
But incidentally, of course, the head coach at Kansas, Dan Fitzgerald, was the recruiter at DBU who recruited us to DBU. He was their chief recruiter. And I say that to just kind of give a plug to Dallas Baptist. I mean, think of a program that once had Wes Johnson and Dan Fitzgerald on the same staff. Back in the 2014, 2015, 2016 seasons, right around in that area. That's a pretty good college baseball program.
Yeah, for sure. No, they actually came to the Arkansas Regional last year. My boys went up to it, and I was kind of curious to see what they were like, and Arkansas never had to play them. They lost in the opening round to Creighton, and then ended up Arkansas advanced to the finals, and Kansas didn't make it there to the finals. But they are turning the tide there, and it's really been kind of fascinating to watch, because that's not a team that's synonymous with baseball. You just don't you don't put those two things together. But man, they're good.
They are really good at baseball for sure. Let's stay in baseball, and this is not going to be a pleasant conversation for me anyway. You may be able to talk me off the ledge a little bit, but Texas Rangers. My note here just says, get them off my TV. That's about where I feel right now. And I want to have a deep conversation here, and we don't really have a whole lot of time to say. We may pick this up at a later date. And I want to dive a little bit deeper here to my fellow Rangers fans out there who may be listening. I'm tired of I talk about being a baseball purist, and you hear it, well, it's early. It's early. He's a slow starter. He does this all the time. Okay. I hear that, and to some extent, yes, I agree with that. Baseball is a marathon. Some guys, it takes a little while to get going. Look, we are a full spring training and over a month now into the regular season. That's not a slow start, particularly when you put in the fact that you can't say last year the entire 162-game schedule was a, quote, slow start. You can't say 2024, the entire 162-game schedule was a slow start. At some point, you have to look at this lineup and you have to say, this just is not a very good offensive collection for a major league lineup. Yeah. And I'm tired of making excuses and saying, well, they're going to start to hit, or it's just part of the game. Guys, this is a terrible offensive baseball team.
Yeah.
And you can point at look, they've been through multiple managers. They've been through multiple hitting coaches. They've turned the roster over in a couple of places. They moved away guys who were, quote, the problem or part of the problem. And here we are again. The same exact problems going on. And I'm just going to say this, man. This falls directly at the feet of the guy who I do want to give credit for being the GM that led us to a World Series finally. But this is Chris Young's fault. He put this roster together. He keeps putting it together, and it continues to be the worst hitting team in Major League Baseball. And as a fan, I'm sick of it. It's gotten to the point where I do not want to watch them anymore. You talk about the bananas being entertaining. This is the anti-bananas. They're on the other spectrum of this. There is nothing entertaining about watching a Texas Rangers baseball game right now. And to be quite honest, hey, shout out to my Rangers Nation who continues to fill Globe Life Field, and pay all of that money it takes to get into that place, buy concessions, buy merchandise, and you got an owner that sits up there sitting on his World Series trophy, and he's okay with that. He doesn't want to spend any more money to make it better. But I'm done with it right now. I will not be spending any money to go watch a Rangers baseball game. I might as well go out in my front yard and start a fire with the money, because that's exactly what it is. You're wasting it. It has got to be the most excruciating 3 hours of your life to watch this team consistently go up there and put up the at-bats that they do. They're horrible. Yeah. And I say at-bats, and you look in the field and you watch last night's game and you're like, holy man, is this a T-ball team that can't field anything at all? You're shuddering when a ball's put in play, because literally all you got to do is put it in play. You got a shot. Yeah. And finally, to end my rant, this is you have to really be, what's it like to be a pitcher on this team, knowing I got to go out and throw up zeros for us to have a shot to win. And I would say, I haven't said this before, but I believe I probably said the exact same thing at some point last season on this podcast. It's tough being a pitcher with the Texas Rangers because you have to be perfect every single night, because you are not going to get any run support.
Yeah.
And I'm done with it. I'm tired of it. Something has to change. And we've tried changing managers. We've tried changing hitting coaches. We've tried changing pitching coaches. We've tried changing everything about this ball club, and the problem is still the same. At some point, we change players. That's the only way you get it done.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add to that?
I mean, just look statistically, they are only one team in the American League has surrendered fewer runs than the Rangers. That's the Yankees, who are the top team in the American League. But no one has scored fewer runs than the Rangers in the American League. I do think there is. It's the same issue as what you had last year. I mean, you've got essentially two guys that are hitting the ball pretty well right now, and that's Young and that's Nemo, one of the newcomers. They have good averages, but other than that, there's nothing. Now, I do want to say that coming into this season, if we were to talk about some of the teams that are the elite as far as having teams that are favored to win their divisions, teams that have stellar pitching, teams that are tough outs. The Rangers played 12 games against those teams already. They've only played 34 games, and 12 of them have come against the Dodgers, the Yankees, and the Mariners. I know the Mariners aren't doing any good this year, but we knew coming into the season they were supposed to be good. I do think part of it is that the Rangers have played. I mean, I look at the fact that they've played 3 games against the Reds, who for some reason are really, really good this year. I don't know why. They've played a lot of games against the A's, who are better than we thought. They've played 3 games against. Here's another thing. Do you know who the Rangers match up with a lot in the National League? Do you know which division they match up with? It's the NL Central so far. They've already played the Reds. They've already played the Pirates. They're about to play the Cubs. Do you know that the NL Central, I think, is the only division in baseball that has every team with a winning record? The Pirates are 19-16, and they're in last place in that division. And so can you say some of it has to do with a very tough schedule? I do believe the Rangers have played a very tough schedule early on, but that's just a blind pig trying to find an acorn. At the end of the day, I think you're right. It's the same. That's the hard thing. It's not that they're not doing well or that they're bad or whatever. It's the same issue. The same issue everybody knew needed to be addressed last year has reared its ugly head again, and you didn't do that much about it. And now what are we supposed to be shocked that it looks just like it did last year? I just don't feel like we are. But if you want a glimmer of hope, I do think the Rangers have played a pretty tough schedule so far. And look who they're about to play. Look at their next two series. The Yankees and the Cubs, two of the three best teams in baseball right now. So I don't know that it's going to get any better, but that's the only silver lining I can maybe find. Otherwise, I'm right in line with you on that.
Yeah, most years I would follow you on that and say, yeah, it's been a tough schedule. 3 years into this thing, I'm not giving them that excuse.
Yep.
At some point, you have to show enough improvement where you can at least be competitive against these teams. These are uncompetitive at bats we're seeing.
Yeah,
I've never seen so many uncompetitive at bats at the major league level, night after night after night after night after night. I mean, Evan Carter, love the kid. He can't hit left-handed pitching. He's almost 4 years into his career now. Why can you not even see any improvement against hitting left-handed pitching? I don't understand that. And he's just one of them, and Corey Seager, thank God for Corey Seager being a Texas Ranger in 2023. I got a gigantic picture over here on my wall hanging of him hitting his home run that in game 1 of the World Series. Great for Corey Seager. Love the guy. He goes down as a Rangers legend. Every year we hear this about him. He's a slow starter. He's a slow starter. And every year he comes out, he's a slow starter. It takes him literally 2 months to get going. I don't understand why it takes him consistently. If you know that you start slow, do something different in your off-season routine.
Yeah.
Instead of using this as an excuse and just say, well, he just starts slow. Well, while he's starting slow and making, $325 million over 10 years, whatever he's making right now, we can't afford you to start slow.
Yeah.
You get buried in the standings by the time he starts hitting. Do something different. I don't understand that mentality of that. It's a base, and I talk about being old school, and that's about as old school baseball as it gets. Well, the game itself, it's a marathon and it takes time. Yes, it takes time, but we're approaching the middle of May. We should start seeing improvement. I'm seeing stuff get worse.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing improvement. I'm seeing people get worse. And look, this is a 3-year explosion I'm having right now. And it is what it is. And so people ask me why, and laugh when I put on my Facebook page, that the Rangers have been eliminated. They have been eliminated. Can you see this team at all competing from where they are right now? No. The only saving grace for them is if you look at the standings this morning, they're still only 2 games out of first place.
Yep.
At 2 games under 500 because they're in the worst division in baseball right now. I don't know if we should be feeling like we feel or the Mariner fans be feeling, because they have by and large the best team in this division. There is no comparison to them, and they haven't gotten hot yet. That's the only saving grace in this thing is that, we've got a team OPS right now. I'm looking at it of 686. Okay. I can go pull a mediocre high school team together and coach them myself, and I can promise you a 686 OPS from that.
Yeah.
That is, I don't care who they're playing. That is inexcusable. Especially when you've been doing the same exact thing for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
I'm really down on my guys right now, but it is what it is, man. I'm tired of pretending there's not a problem in the room when there's been a problem now for 3 years. This is not a managerial problem. It's not a style problem. It's not a hitting coach problem. It is a player problem. And you only solve player problems by what? Getting better players, and that
Yep.
falls on the general manager. Okay.
I'm with you on that.
Texas Longhorns football came out with there is a article on CBS Sports came out on Saturday ranking college football's toughest 2026 schedules. You want to know why the Longhorns have been so active in the transfer portal and bringing in all these high dollar players and really putting together maybe the best roster they've had since 2005, at least on paper. Look at this schedule. As of right now, at least according to these post-spring top 25 polls, Texas has 8 top 25 games coming up in the fall. Starting, of course, with Ohio State in week 2. Then they go to Tennessee in week 4. They play Oklahoma, of course, and Dallas on October the 10th. And then 3 straight home games. I'm sure these teams are not actually part of that. Florida, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State. But then they go on the gauntlet and then they play LSU in Baton Rouge, and then they play, of course, A&M in College Station. What a schedule that is, man. I can see this team losing 3 games and be right where they were last year, and it be a much better ball club. It'd be interesting to see if they get squeezed out of the playoff with those 3 losses against this schedule.
Yeah. And it's every year the toughest schedule in the country is typically coming from that conference, because if you just have one good non-conference game, the rest of the conference schedule is going to take care of that strength of schedule. And so it's no surprise, especially when you're playing Ohio State, that's probably the premier non-conference game of any SEC team. No surprise that that distinction falls to them.
Yeah, we'll revisit this schedule game by game here as we get closer to the fall. I just wanted to mention that since this article came out. Interestingly enough, according to this particular story, they have Oklahoma as the number 2 toughest schedule in the country. The Sooners would be facing, at least right now, 7 top 25 teams, including Texas on that. They, of course, have to play Georgia this year. Texas, thankfully, does not have Georgia on their schedule. And then they'll be getting a much better Michigan team, I believe. They have to go on the road and play them up there in Ann Arbor this year. That's a tough one. Rounding out the top 5 on this, just in terms of potentially the toughest schedules in the country, Ohio State at 3, Michigan at 4, and then Ole Miss comes in at number 5. So kind of gets your blood flowing a little bit for college football, which is, Matt, really not that far away, right? I mean, we got another month or so of college baseball really dominating it, and then, man, we can turn our attention to the fall and college football.
Yeah, we can. And, that first week will have actually a lot of the similar games that we had the first week this past year. You kind of do the flip-flop. You now go play on the road when you played at home or what have you. So there's a lot of similar matchups that first week. I can't wait for it. It'll be a lot of fun. It's kind of fun being an Arkansas fan and a college football fan, because you just get to enjoy the sport as a whole. You don't really care about your team. So you just get to kind of enjoy the sport as a whole. So it's been kind of fun. But of course, for me, it's that Sunday of Notre Dame at Wisconsin and Louisville at Ole Miss. That first Sunday that you don't have NFL games yet. So college puts a couple games in there. I think that's going to be really, really fun to watch. I can't wait for that weekend.
Either, man. It's the best time of the year. In the fall. I know there's some great, we talked about the spring being great as well, but there's something different about the fall when it gets here. So I'm looking forward to that as we go into the summer. That brings us to our final word portion of the program today. And Matt, I've gone back to where it all began. Genesis 1:1. Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And you say, why on earth would he choose that as the final word of today? Well, because it all starts there. If you've got a problem with believing that it begins there with God creating the heavens and the earth and literally bringing everything into being just by the spoken word, you're really going to struggle through the rest of the Bible, right? I mean, if you don't get a handle on that and believe that, there's really no need to read the rest of the pages, because it's not going to make any sense to you. And I really thought about this because yesterday, literally as you and I were texting, I had gone to get some, I don't know if you can see it. You can't really see it here now. It's over here to my left. I had to get some, one of those cubby things so I can do some storage right here in my office, right? So I went to Walmart. I bought one of these really cheap kind of mainstays thing from Walmart and brought it back here and was putting it together. I don't do that very well. Because I don't really like following the instructions, which is another final word potentially. Why I don't follow instructions. But this time I said I'm going to follow the instructions and I'm going to do it piece by piece. So I do this and I get it halfway built by following the instructions, and the whole thing is like a house of cards. It just fell over. I tore up little pieces of wood. There were bent dowels that go into the things, and it was just completely done. So I was doing it by following the instructions. And so I went back and I built it my way by giving it some structure and some stability by putting actual screws into places. And it took me a little bit longer, but I do now have a bookcase sitting over here that I can, that fit what I needed to be. But the problem with that is, if you look at that, if you do anything out of order, it messes everything up. It's a house of cards. And that's kind of what I mean when I'm talking today about Genesis 1:1 being the basis for everything that we believe. Because if you don't understand that God is the ultimate supreme being that created everything, including us, heavens, earth, mankind, I mean, all of it, God created all of it. If you can't grasp that mindset, that he is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, that it's all about him, you're going to have a really tough time following and believing and hiding God's word in your heart the rest of the book. Would you agree with that as a pastor?
I do. I think that's a good way of putting it. It's so foundational. It's like you said, it's the starting point.
And I mean, it's you can't go on to Genesis 1:2 without believing Genesis 1:1. Just stop there, and until you can get past that, the rest of the book is not really going to mean a whole lot to you. But once you do, if that's your foundation, the Bible just opens up to a whole new world for you. So just wanted to share that this morning because it was on my heart, of all things, yesterday while I was trying to build a bookcase and realizing, it worked out for me, but for the most part, hey, there's a reason why there's an instruction manual, and you have to start at page 1 to get to where you want to go. So, okay, he's Matt, I'm David, and this is From the Press Box on the Right Team Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast, and don't forget to check us out on YouTube at the Right Team Podcast. You can also follow us on Facebook for additional content and updates you don't want to miss. Stay tuned, subscribe, and don't miss an episode. We've got something for everyone on this podcast. Thank you for listening and supporting us right here from the heart of the East Texas Piney Woods. Until next time, as always, keep writing your story.
Here in East Texas, every story matters, and Right Team Services is here to help you tell yours. From grant writing for local schools and nonprofits to social media, press releases, and website content for small businesses, we're proud to serve the people and communities right here at home. Clear, professional, effective. If you've got something to say, we'll help you say it right. Right Team Services, serving East Texas one story at a time.